Okay, Grant Nicholas from FEEDER. Welcome to Australian Musician.
Hi there, how you doing?
Good. You're touring Australia in early April, not too far away now. What memories do you have of the first time you came here?
Uh, Good weather, like great audiences, good food, super relaxed. Lots of traveling. It's a big place, but it was we had a lot of fun. We did the sound. I think it was the Soundwave festival that we did the last time we were there, where it kind of moves around from city to city. And it was a really good lineup. I think it was like Metallica and
Yeah,
sort of quite an eclectic mix of indie and rock bands and stuff. So it was, yeah, obviously, great to be part of that. And then I think we did one or two little club shows, while we were there as well, just in some clubs. But yeah, just have, really fond memories of it. It's just been way too long. 14 years, I can't believe it's
yeah,
taken us so long to get back. But, we have been trying. It's just taken, just everything's coming to place, this time.
that's good. Last year you released a double album, Black Red.
Yeah.
Why did you feel the need to present us with 18 new songs?
Yeah, I guess, I'm always writing, so there's always new songs around. And I've always wanted to do a double album. I'm pretty old school and I grew up with, I remember, double albums when I was a kid and stuff. And it's, it's quite a brave move in the current climate of, streaming. But I think after being a band for over 30 years, we felt like it was a good time, a bit of a statement to do it. And, I think our number one goal was if we do a double album, it shouldn't be too long and it shouldn't have any filler. And I think hopefully we achieved that. Don't know if you agree, but and it was just sort of during lockdown as well. There was a lot of songs written that all felt like they belonged in the same kind of place, on the same musical journey. So that's kind of how it all came about, really.
Yeah. So how much of the album have you managed to incorporate into the set list?
Yeah, well, we did the Black Red tour in the UK last year. We were playing. Well, we actually rehearsed quite a bit of the album, but obviously, when we're doing a live show, we appreciate, when you're going to see a band, it's still nice to hear some of the old stuff as well. So you have to get that balance, don't you? What was good about it is, oh yeah, yeah, and also on the tour, the album didn't come out until after. So we had to be careful how many new songs we were playing. When
Right.
the album's been out for months, you can get away with doing more of the new stuff because people have had time. But what we did do was because there were so many tracks on there, we put out six or five or six singles. So people had at least heard pretty much, what would have been half an album before the tour. That helped actually quite a lot. But to answer your question, yeah, we were doing about seven, eight songs some nights out off the album, sometimes more, which doesn't sound much out of 18, but that is actually quite a lot when you're playing new material. Because obviously we've got 30 years of history, so we have to play some of the favourites as well. But when we come to Australia, I think it'll be a good mixture. We're going to sort of do some of the Black Red stuff, some feeder classics. We might even go back and do a few really old school feeder songs as well. We're going to try and keep it interesting and also play some stuff people may want to hear that we played, last time we were there.
Yeah. So which of the new songs are you enjoying playing on stage?
Oh, I really like ELF, which is the opening track. I like playing with fire. That's a fun song to play. I mean, actually, all the songs actually work like really well. When we were rehearsing, they all came together like quite quickly. There's a song called "Hey You," which has got a bit of an '80s. It's not. It shows a different side to the band. It's got a bit of an '80s sort of guitar feel to it with all the chorus guitars and stuff like that. That's quite a fun track to play live, and that seems to have really connected with with the audiences, even from the first time of them hearing it. It was a single here as well. It's called "Hey You." But yeah, I mean, I like, it's, the good thing about Black Red is it's got the heavy side of Feeder, but it's also got like the more melodic side as well, which is, part of that's kind of what we are as a band. So it's nice that it ticks that box.
Yeah. You've got a home studio where you do your demos. Is that a blessing and a curse? Are you good at knowing when a song is done and to leave it alone?
Yeah, I mean, I work with an engineer a lot. I mean, yeah, I basically do pretty much all the Feeder stuff here, apart from the drums. So it's more than demos. I mean, they start off as demos and they end up being like, like on the albums. That's kind of always the way it's been with Feeder, even going back to when we were working in big studios, we'd always go in, do some demos. There'd be something about them that was really vibey. So we'd end up keeping any good elements from that and then putting those into the session. And they often ended up even being used on the original like final result. But yeah, I think having a studio, I mean, I don't actually write in there. I tend to sit here when I'm in the kitchen just with an acoustic guitar most of the time. Um, so when I go in there, I go in there to work really. So, and because I'm working with an engineer, we do a lot of co-production as well together. It's good to have somebody there, as you said, as you can get a little bit lost in it and not know when to stop.
Yeah. The band's been going for 3 decades, and you've released albums quite consistently over that period. Like most bands, you go through a golden period of singles, and the fans always want to hear those singles like Buck Rogers and Just Today. Do you feel with Black Red that you're still creating music that matches the quality of the hit single days?
Well, I think that I mean, like, I'm sure every band says this, but every new record's their best, isn't it? I mean, I personally think that some of the songs on our last sort of like, maybe like 3 or 4 albums have been even, a lot stronger than some of that in period. I think it was just timing, and I think those songs, just a day, but Rogers just came out at the right time as well. I think it's there, there is that is such an important part, and especially with like rock bands, sometimes you'll have radio will support you. And sometimes, radio's just not there for guitar bands, and it was always like that, and it's still like that a little bit. I mean, I think music now is it's a bit more general since you've got streaming. I think kids are into all sorts of music. Even my kids, they don't analyze it. They're not just into rock. They're into all sorts. They listen to everything, and I think that's a really good thing. But to answer your question, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely something about, just a day and Buck Rogers that really connected with people. But you could also argue in those days, we were getting like massive radio play, and radio was a massive thing then, because that was how a band broke. You could go out and you could do all the live thing and build a fan base, but if you got your song on radio as well and you had a big station behind you, it really could make or break you. And I think it was a different musical climate. So it's very hard to answer that
Mm.
because I think some of the songs that we've released since, I mean, I think even just on top of my head, there's a song on the album called The Knock, which I know if I'd released that in that era, that would have been a single, and I think it would have done quite well. But it's impossible to tell, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um, we've got songs that were never singles that I think could have been much bigger songs than they ever were. But I think every band's got those, and it's just the way it is.
Yeah, yeah. I asked because recently I was talking to Steve Kilbey, the lead singer of the Church, and he he doesn't like playing the old stuff, and he thinks that
Right.
the new stuff that he's writing is really good, and he almost gets angry that people don't
Yeah.
accept it like the old stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it is frustrating. I mean, you know what? I mean, the thing is, I do honestly think, there's an energy that you have when you're a bit younger, when you write, and there's certain thing. But I think as you get older, if you're still inspired and you're still, you know, I know you can totally lose it, and some people just have that kind of writer's block or don't have that vision. But we're lucky that that we still do, and I think I do even more than I had, back then. I write more songs now than I did when I was younger in a weird kind of way, but I'm still sort of following the formula and the way and that style that I write in. We haven't really ever changed that because that's what kind of band we are, and this is the music that we like making. We don't want to compromise that. Um, but I think we've learned a little bit along the way. I think we know how to make better sounding records now, and I think that I've learned quite a lot. Working with different producers over the years, and that's all helped. And I think I think that we know how to make. I mean, I think like sonically, I think our records sound a lot better now than they used to. If you A/B them, but I think technology has come on a lot more as well. But there's a certain beauty and a charm that you got in those days by you had to go in the studio, this is it, and you couldn't go back to it. Like you said to me in my garden, do you know when to stop, like tweaking it or reading or like tuning a vocal, all that sort of stuff. In those days, I mean, you just couldn't do that, which was kind of a good thing, I guess, in some ways. So I'm probably going off on a bit of a tandem, but yeah, I mean, I also appreciate people want to hear. those songs as well. And we do try and still play those feeder classics in the set as much as we can, mixed in, with new material. And it normally works like really well. If I go and see a band that I love, I want to hear some of my favorite songs. Otherwise, you feel a little bit like, oh, I can't believe they didn't play, whether you go and see Smashing Pumpkins or whatever, they don't play anything from the first like two or three records. You feel a little bit shortchanged. So I think, we're very aware of that. And also we like the reaction those songs get from the audience because they were big hits at the time.
Yeah. There's a lot happening sonically on the new album. Has it been
Yeah.
a difficult album to reproduce live?
No, not really. I mean, we're sort of, I think we're kind of known, even when we were three piece, we've always had quite a sort of fullish sound. I mean, I sort of I've quite a sort of fat guitar sound, which I probably ended up with because we were a three-piece band and we wanted to try and fill the sound out. And that's never really changed. We just sort of built on that. So things have got bigger again. So, I do use a lot more keyboards and strings now than, maybe I used to when we first started off. I mean, we were experimenting with that a little bit, even on our first album, but as the albums have gone on and the songs have got a bit grander here and there, we've added a bit more, elements here to our music. So live, yeah. I mean, we are, yeah. I think we do pull it off. I mean, we've got, we've obviously we're a four piece at the moment, so we've got two guitars now. So obviously we're not thinking it's a three piece. Otherwise, we'd have to put some stuff on track. But we try and keep it as live as possible. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. You'd have to come and see us to see what you think. But we certainly make a bit of a racket still.
Yeah. What is the stage rig these days, and how different is it to when you started?
Sorry, what was that?
What is your stage rig? The guitars and
Oh, God,
pedal?
it sounds really bad, but I'm a bit sort of set in my ways, I guess. I mean, I've experimented with amps a few times over the years, and I've basically ended up much playing the same rig as I did when we first started, which was a complete accident because I didn't really quite know what was what, and I just plugged amps in, and I like this amp. So my main rig is, basically is either a Vox or a JMI, which is basically a Vox that was made by one of the original guys, sort of a hand wired combo, AC30, and I'm using a Fender Hot Rod, the DeVille. I used to use a Fender Twin, so it's like very similar, and I just use those two, and that is my rig, and they're on all the time. So they run together, so it's not like an A/B switch between the two.
Yeah.
And then I used to use an old ADA, a guitar preamp, into the front of these, and it was the most noisy. And every time I turn up at festivals, you sort of plug it in, it'd be like, "Arr." So I'm not using the ADA anymore because it became a little bit temperamental when we were touring America with all different power stuff back in the day. So I kind of recreated a lot of those sounds. I use a lot of big muffs and tone bender fuzz boxes. I use a few other pedals for like classic rock sounds. I use a lot of old things like a memory man's and chorus pedals and various like delays. But I'm pretty each album that maybe a song where you need a certain sound. So my pedal board, I try and squeeze an extra pedal on sometimes. Like I've got I use like an octaver on the song Playing with Fire, which is on the new album Black Red, which is almost played on one string. So I've had to add a few more pedals, but yeah, I'm pretty much using the same rig. And I'm not really. I quite like, even when I've tried using my pedals in different ways, switching systems and all that. I felt like I lost something. So I'm using a very old school pedal board, which my guitar tech is terrified of, I think, because if anything goes wrong on it, it's it's quite hard. But I don't know. I quite like that. I think I don't. I want to keep it a little bit old school. It's part of our sound, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still using the 67 Jazzmaster?
Yeah, no, I've got many jazz masters. I mean, at the moment, my whole like rack is all jazz masters. I mean, I'm kind of known for jazz masters, but I've got my original '67 Jazz Master, which is just over there. Actually, I just had the nut repaired on it. Then I've got a '59 Jazz Master, all original, which is what I use it for a lot of recording. And then I just got my army of jazz masters, I guess. I mean, I do use other guitars for recording a bit. I mean, I use some humbucker stuff, so I use a few Gibsons on if I'm doing any tracking stuff. But my my signature guitar, as people know me for, is obviously Fender Jazzmaster. I do play a lot of Fender Telecasters as well. But yeah, I mean, I do like Gibsons, but I'm definitely probably more of a Fender guy.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
who were the guitarists whose licks you tried to copy when you were younger?
Oh, God. I mean, I'm not really a big lead player. I mean, I was probably better at doing lead stuff yeah, when I was younger, actually, when I was trying to play like, Angus Young or Eddie Van Halen. I mean, like, Van Halen was a big influence, and even Randy Rhoads used to play with Black Sabbath. He was a great guitar player, and I was lucky enough to have saw him actually not long before he died in a plane accident afterwards. But he was a great guitar player. I think he would have gone on to be, quite legendary. But yeah, I mean, I'm big Andy Summers fan. So I loved all those little police, all that chorus sound. Obviously, Jimmy Page and Hendrix, people like that, influential as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, definitely Van Halen ticks that box. He's just a great entertainer as well. I never got to see him live, but yeah.
Who's the most unexpected person to come backstage wanting to meet you?
Oh my God, that's quite a tricky question, that one. Uh, I think there's been a few actors, but I was just trying to think of some of the names. Do you do you know I don't know if you have it here, but this is like a recent one. He's actually become quite a good friend now. Do you know do you get Super Vet there? Can you watch UK stuff there?
Super
Noel
bad.
Fitzpatrick.
I haven't heard of, no.
Okay, there's a guy there called Noel Fitzpatrick. He's a real character. He writes loads of books as well. He's an amazing vet. He does this incredible stuff that a lot of I think some people don't always agree with his thing because he does like crazy things like he'll do stuff have an animal put down, but I don't know, he'll make a sort of some sort of bionic leg for a dog or some like crazy stuff. I mean, he's really advanced, but he's on a different level. But he's a massive music fan, and then we found out. So he came backstage to me, and we ended up being on the same radio station one day doing an interview. So quite random, but his name sort of like sprung to mind. Do you know Robert Carlyle? The guy was it Robert Carlyle? He was in the Train Spotting,
Yeah, yep.
the actor when we played in Glasgow, he came down. It wasn't meet us after a gig. This is years ago, and he came down with his entourage. A really nice guy. But yeah, I mean, you find there's quite a lot of actors into music. So there's been quite a few that we've met over the years. Um, so I'm just trying to think of a good one. It's early in the morning, so my brain's not working.
Yeah. Well, what about yourself? Who have you met that you've been a bit starstruck by?
Oh my God, loads of people, really. I mean, just bands we played with, Rolling Stones, and that was pretty, mad, having the Rolling Stones that walk in our dressing rooms, have photo, graph with us when we supported them a few times.
Yeah.
Uh, U2 was a big one as well. I mean, U2 were quite a big influence on me. I didn't mention The Edge. I mean, he never really gets like credited, but he had a very unique style, The Edge, and he's got a very people go, oh well, it's all like delay pedals, yeah, but he came up with that sort of style in some way, and I think a lot of people have been influenced by his style. So, meeting U2 was a big thing for me. We were doing like stadiums with them, supported them, so that was quite incredible. Oh my God, I've met Dave Grohl a few times. He used to come and watch us on the side of the stage, actually. He used to come and watch FEEDER. So I think he was quite into what we were doing.
Oh.
Uh, I've met so many people over the years, it's hard to remember them all, but loads of actors and some quite big actors. Yeah.
You released a solo album in 2014. Any thoughts of a follow-up?
Yeah, Yorktown Heights. Yeah, it's one of my proudest moments still. I really love that record and it was never planned. I was actually originally writing for a young acoustic artist, and I wrote the song "Soulmates," which was one of the singles on there. And then I wrote a few more, and I got so attached to it, I decided I didn't really want to give them away, and it just became almost like a family album for me in some way. My kids who were really young, um, and it just has a lot of memories. Every time I hear it, it just brings back all those memories, and it's an album that I think. I'd like to re-release actually, and maybe add some, you know, some new tracks to it because I think a lot of people didn't really hear it. It went under the radar a little bit because it was, it was released on a very small label at the time, and it was very much a self, just kind of did it all myself. Really, didn't really have a, didn't really have a team behind it. I mean, it still did well, but I think it could have done even better. And because of the kind of music it is, it hasn't really dated. It kind of is what it is because it's very acoustic based as well. It's like FEEDER without the heavy guitars, I guess, in some way. Um, but yeah, I mean, I would do. I mean, obviously, FEEDER's my main priority. So if I do a solo thing, it'll either have to fit around what we're doing, or it'll be I can settle into that as I get older. It may be a bit easier to play that kind of music, and in my later years than, trying to jump around doing, just a day or Buck Rogers.
So you're touring here in April. What's on for the rest of 2025 for the band?
It's actually getting quite busy. We decided to not release a new album because we're basically going to reissue our album Comfort and Sound. It's been remastered and I've reworked a few tracks which will be on a separate bonus CD, and that includes a lot of the B-sides that came out at that time. Plus we've done some orchestral like string versions of three of the album songs as well. So it's kind of a really nice package. So that's going to be coming out September, and we're doing 6 exclusive shows in the UK. So we're going to be playing the whole album for the first time from from start to finish, and then we'll do a few sort of best of songs at the end. So we've got that happening. We've got obviously the Far East tour. We're going to Singapore, then coming to Australia. We're going to Japan. So it's all part of the same tour. Then we come back. We're doing actually no, we're doing Taiwan as well. Then we're doing then we go to Europe again to do a few shows, and then it's just on to sort of UK festivals. So yeah, it's going to be we're quite busy. We're doing less festivals this summer than we were last year. We decided to not do too many, and maybe not outstay our welcome. So we want to sort of focus people towards the Comfort and Sound dates in September. So I think we're doing about 6 festivals.
Okay.
Oh yeah, so reasonably busy, busy enough.
Yeah. So what are you most proud of in your music career?
Oh God, that's a difficult question. Um, I think the fact we're still here, I think. The fact we're still doing it, we're still riding the rock and roll train, whatever. Um, I think it's really hard to have one moment where you say what you're really proud of. I think I think we've stuck to our goal. I think we decided to be a band. Let's not worry about the trends. Let's try and be a band that maybe some of our songs, might be remembered 10, 20, 30 years after they came out. And, possibly we've achieved that on a few of our songs. And I think that's a big thing to do as a band. It's really hard to achieve that. And I think we've always stuck to that. And that's what we're still trying to do. And I think, I'm quite proud that we haven't sort of strayed from the path too much. We've stuck to it, and we've, believed in what we did, and at times it was, it's been hard. And I think, obviously when we lost John, our drummer, making Comfort and Sound, I suppose, is probably one of my proudest moments because it was an album that was made at a really difficult time for us. We didn't know if we could carry on as a band. So that's definitely up there as well for me on a personal level.
Yeah.
But yeah, quite a hard question to answer, really. But I think Comfort and Sound is definitely one of my proudest moments because we came back, with with our biggest record um, after it was kind of all over. There you go.
Yeah. Well, Grant, it's been great to catch up, and we look forward to seeing you down here very soon.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, thanks a lot. I mean, what I would say, if anyone's listening, or well, hopefully they are, it's been a while since we've been there, and if you want to come to see FEEDER, this is your chance because I don't know when we'll be back. Hopefully, it won't be 14 years, but if you're a fan of the band and you're thinking about it, come to this show because it'll be great. We'll be playing a bit of everything, obviously a lot of Black Red as we talked about, but there'll be really intimate shows and it'll be a lot of fun. So don't miss out.
Right, mate. Thanks for your time.
Hey, thanks a lot. Cheers.